I have
Lilly and Jack Sullivan. They vanished. Without a sound, without a trace, no footprints, no backpack, no piece of clothing, not a single confirmed sighting after May 1st. Hundreds searched the woods. Nothing. They brought in drones, dogs, divers. Still nothing. The trail ended before it even began. RCMP stayed quiet. Too quiet. No new updates. No press briefings. No answers. Weeks passed. Then months. So what did they actually find? And why does no one seem to be talking about it anymore? The first 48 hours. At around 10 a.m. on May 2nd, 2025, Malaya Brooks, Murray called 911. Her voice was shaken. She told the dispatcher her two young children, Lily and Jack, were gone. Just gone. She claimed to have heard them playing earlier that morning around 8:00 a.m., then drifted back to sleep. When she got up again, the house had fallen silent. The kids weren't there. She searched briefly, then made the call. Her partner, Daniel Martell, told responding officers the children might have slipped out through the back patio door. He pointed out that the door was nearly silent when opened, as if to explain how they could have left without being heard. It was an oddly specific detail. Police noted it, but didn't challenge it. CMP officers from Pictou County arrived quickly and initiated what was, at that moment, considered a missing persons case. No Amber Alert was issued. There was no talk of foul play. The children were classified as vulnerable missing, a label used when young kids disappear, but no crime is suspected. The assumption was simple: they wandered off. It happens, sometimes, especially in rural areas. The initial search force was small, a few officers, a drone unit, canine support, and some local volunteers. No helicopters. No coordinated air rescue teams. Just a perimeter around the Gerlach Road property and nearby forested trails. The terrain was rough, dense woods, steep hills, and remnants of Hurricane Fiona's destruction 2 years earlier. Fallen trees, thick mud, sharp undergrowth. Not an easy place to walk, especially not for a 4- and 6-year-old. But what investigators didn't find became the story. No footprints, no scattered clothes, no broken branches or signs of travel. Not even a toy. The dogs found no scent trail. The drones picked up nothing. There was zero evidence that the children had ever left the property. It was as if they'd vanished into thin air. There was another red flag. When police asked Daniel Martell to describe what the kids were wearing, he gave a specific answer: Jack had on dinosaur rain boots. But later, he admitted he hadn't actually seen Jack that morning. That raised immediate questions. How do you describe what a child was wearing if you didn't see him? Even stranger, no one outside the hay had seen the kids in days. Despite the lack of any concrete leads, the RCMP continued their ground search through May 3rd. Additional units were brought in. The Nova Scotia Ground Search and Rescue Association began preparing to assist. The search area was expanded slightly, but still focused around Gerlach Road. Every path, ditch, and drainage line was checked. Still nothing. By this point, public concern was rising. Local residents started posting online. Some joined search efforts on their own. Tips came into Crime Stoppers, though none were credible. Media attention began to build. But still, no high-ranking RCMP spokesperson stepped forward. The public face of the search was limited to sergeants and field supervisors. For a case involving two missing Indigenous children, that silence was deafening. On May 3rd, Malaya spoke to the press for the first and only time. She was visibly emotional, holding back tears. "I just want to hold my babies again," she said to CTV News. She said that Lily and Jack may have had mild autism, but insisted they were friendly and talkative. That too would later come under scrutiny. Teachers and bus drivers described children as sociable, even excitable. Not shy, not withdrawn. Behind the scenes.
Hey, Connie.
Hey,
Uh,
Connie.
Doing okay. We're having to do it this way again. Laptops being slow as crap. So
I can see the comments over here.
we're just oh, you got it right there.
I got
Okay.
the comments over here.
I can't hardly see. It's a low phone, but she's got them over there. She can see what it is. She can tell me.
Yeah.
This one here, latest update. Are they looking for the kids, Jack and Lily? I don't know if they're meaning have Daniel just stopped looking, has search team stopped looking, or what. They may be taking some advice and just pulling out and make them think that they're not going to worry with it anymore and just keep somebody on the sideline to watch where they go and what they do, who they talk to. And I'm pretty sure that trailer's bugged by now. So if they even speak about it, I mean, authorities gonna know it. So they may be trying to play it that way. I don't know. Just got started with this one, so
Something shifted. While police didn't publicly declare the case suspicious, the RCMP's Major Crime Unit was quietly brought in on May 3rd. That meant homicide detectives, behavioral analysts, and digital forensics teams. Devices were seized, phones were examined. The family's story, once taken at face value, was now under a different kind of microscope. 48 hours in, and still nothing. No belongings, no sightings, no direction of travel, no proof that the children ever left the house, and no reason to believe they were simply lost in the woods. The forest hadn't given anything back, not even a whisper. Just silence. Cold, endless silence. The search went wrong.
now we're getting somewhere.
Between May 3rd and May 6th, 2025, the search for Lilly and Jack Sullivan escalated into one of the largest missing child operations in recent Nova Scotia history. What began as a small-scale search around the family's remote home on Gairloch Road expanded into a full...
They may be fixing to pull out all their lies, timelines, and everything on this one right here. Something has happened, or they wouldn't be saying, "Are they looking for the kids?" We know Malaya ain't.
Yeah.
She let her best friend, offered to watch the baby while she could go out and look for her kids, and she said, "I'm not going out looking for a damn thing." So we know she don't give a damn. So maybe Jack's fed up with it, and I think he's covering for her, and I think her not talking to the public, she's kind of covering for him. But I mean, they're gonna have to say something because this ain't right, you know. A little over a month now, and them babies need at least a proper burial and whatnot. I wish they would. I figured they would have given an update on the remains that they had found there the other day. They said it did look like children's remains. So whenever they do that, I guess we'll watch that one too. All we can do is listen and see what they say, and see if they say something new, then talk about it. That's all I know to do.
Lone tactical effort involving drones, dogs, helicopters, and hundreds of trained professionals and volunteers. Search zones were widened to include nearby wooded trails, ravines, and swampy lowlands. The area had been damaged by Hurricane Fiona 2 years prior, leaving behind an unpredictable landscape of fallen trees, uneven ground, and dense underbrush. Despite the harsh terrain, searchers combed more than 5.5 square kilometers, grid by grid, looking for any sign the children had passed through. Multiple agencies joined the effort. The RCMP remained in charge, but they were now backed by the Nova Scotia Ground Search and Rescue Association, Colchester Ground Search and Rescue, and Cassara, which provided aerial support. Local volunteers, including members of the Sipakenkatik First Nation, also stepped in. At its peak, more than 160 people were on the ground. Search teams were equipped with heat-sensing drones, GPS tracking systems, and canine units trained to detect human scent. They were instructed to look for specific signs, pieces of clothing, discarded items, footprints, or Jack's bright green dinosaur boots. Anything could have helped establish a direction of travel or confirm the children had left the property. But nothing appeared. No clothes, no toys, no dropped items, no blood, no broken branches, no clear prints. The only trace that surfaced was a single small footprint found approximately 300 meters from the house. It was never confirmed to belong to either child. No other tracks were found around it, and no trail continued beyond it.
Lily's.
Strangely, the RCMP didn't release news of this footprint until later. They also never confirmed whether it was relevant to the case. This omission became a point of frustration for search and rescue experts, who questioned the transparency and strategy behind the investigation.
How would one boot print not be suspicious in a crime scene looking for children?
For real though.
I mean, I know whoever is doing this is doing overlay talk through, but you know, apparently whoever it is, the crime cases are just not going back to the beginning. They're just going by hearsay. Because so far I've not heard them talk anything about the second time round. Because that's when they found her blanket, her bloody underwear, a sock, and I don't know what else. So I don't know if he's leaving that out for a purpose, thinking that maybe authorities want to mention that instead of people like them and us and everybody else, because really they admitted yesterday that they have failed miserably on the search for Jack and Lily. Authorities admitted it, that they failed miserably doing this. Now everything has been tracked over, walked over, way to miss everything.
Because they didn't carefully look at everything
Right.
before they did anything or really walked it through everywhere.
Yeah, so now it's gonna be like a needle in a haystack unless them remains come back as them.
Investigation. One expert put it bluntly, even lost kids don't disappear without leaving a trail. This one never even began. Meanwhile, the RCMP continued to insist the children had likely wandered off.
Well,
despite no physical evidence supporting this theory, the classification of the case remained vulnerable missing persons. There was no Amber Alert. According to RCMP protocol, such alerts require signs of abduction or foul play, criteria they said had not been met. But the public wasn't convinced. Social media lit up with criticism. Many questioned how two young children could simply vanish into a forest with no trace, no noise, and no one seeing anything. Comparisons were drawn to other cases, like that of Summer Wells. As the days passed with no progress and no substantial press briefings from law enforcement, the perception grew that RCMP was either overwhelmed or withholding something. Behind the scenes, however, the tone of the investigation was shifting. On May 3rd, the RCMP quietly activated their major crime unit. Investigators began reviewing the family's digital history, phones, internet usage, and GPS data. Behavioral analysts were brought in to review interviews. Though the case was still officially non-criminal, it was clear detectives were now preparing for other possibilities.
You think?
That was quick.
Martell, the children's stepfather, began showing signs of emotional and physical exhaustion. In interviews between May 4th and 6th, he described riding his ATV across 30 acres of land in search of the kids. His emotions fluctuated between frustration, defensiveness.
I'm sorry we're having to do this back in the living room again, but laptop's working slow, lagging. I can't do nothing on there, so I'm on call in the morning and try to get somebody out here tomorrow. It seems like every time they come out and fool it a little bit, it does fine for a month or so. So I'm gonna get them right back out here. This is getting on my nerves, but at least y'all get to see it on the big screen. Probably a lot better than it is in there. Just seeing us on that
Hey, Tanya.
little screen. Hey, Tanya.
Fruit Loops on.
Hey, Fruit Loop. If anybody's wondering, yeah, we're having to do it here in the living room.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. And this one, the latest update, are they looking for the kids? I believe they're talking about maybe pulling out the searchers and seeing if Daniel is going to continue looking for them, or if not, because we know Malaya ain't going to look for a daggone thing. So that's out.
Hey,
And
Dee.
hey, D, and I made a comment the other day, last night, and I think about a week or so ago. If they would pull out and make them think that they're not searching no more, I'm sure their home is bugged with a camera right now
Oh, yeah.
that they don't know nothing about. And if they talk about it inside that home, they're automatically going to get them. Because him and her are texting one another back and forth. So I believe that's why they've titled it, Are They Looking for the Kids? Because every time searchers try to go wider out or stay longer, that's exhausting. It would have to be. Okay. And then on top of that, that's why I said whoever's doing this over talk right here on this update is not really talking about the second time around. They're talking about the first time around. So it seems like every time, well, the second time that they went back out, they started back at the house and worked out. That's when they found, the boot print, the sock, the bloody underwear, all that stuff. And he's not mentioning on this over talk play here. However you say that. How is that, love? What's that called?
What?
Where you can talk over it.
Voiceover.
Voiceover. So apparently he's going off the first round of it. Well, I said last night, her friend, Malaya's friend, offered to watch the baby so she could go out and search for the kids. She said she ain't searching for a damn thing. So maybe they will pull out and just see what they do. If they go about their married day and they don't at least show tension of going wherever, because I'm sure if everybody pulled out, no matter where them children are, they would go there just to make sure everything's like it was. And that's when they could get them. So maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know.
And despair.
Answer
At
them
one point,
comments,
he
babe,
insisted that Lilly and
come in.
Jack
I do. They're
always
talking
stayed
to each
together.
other right now.
a detail that cast further doubt on the isolated footprint. Curiously,
Trisha.
despite growing suspicion from the public, the RCMP didn't investigate, or at least didn't publicly disclose, potential vehicular abduction. No security footage from gas stations or roadways was requested. Dashcam footage wasn't even mentioned until May 28th, almost a full month
I
later.
tried 6 times.
As May 6th
Wouldn't
came
work.
to a close, the case had
I'm
entered a
calling them
strange
tomorrow.
stasis. The ground teams were still searching.
Tanya
But the
said get
leads were
them
drying
drunk and get them
No one could
talking
say with
about
certainty
them.
whether the children had walked
And the
into the
truth will
woods
come out.
or
And
never
right.
left the house at all. Something changed on May 7th. After days of one of the most intense ground searches in Nova Scotia's history, the activity around Gairloch Road began to fade. Teams packed up quietly. Dogs were loaded back into trailers. Drones stopped flying.
See?
Volunteers were told their help was no longer needed. There was no formal announcement,
Uh-oh.
no press conference, no closure, just a quiet withdrawal. Many would later call it the quiet stop. There was no explanation, no declaration that the search had ended or moved into a new phase. Agencies like Colchester Ground Search and Rescue and GSRA simply stopped updating their involvement.
You have to talk
For
louder
those
now.
watching from the outside,
said they
it
were
was
both
as if the
guilty.
operation
Yeah,
had
they both
evaporated
guilty.
overnight. Reporters at the scene confirmed that no RCMP briefing was held after May 6. Questions went unanswered. Journalists were either redirected or met with vague statements like, "The investigation is ongoing." On social media, people began calling
Get him
it
to
a
talk
media
about
blackout.
her and
With
her
every
to
hour
talk
that
about
passed,
him.
the silence
Watch the
became more
truth fry.
suspicious.
I'm
Behind
sure
that
that-
after
silence,
getting them
something
drunk.
else was unfolding. The search for physical traces had stopped, but the
I'm
major
sure
crime
that
unit remained
trailer's
active.
bugged.
Without ever declaring it a criminal case, RCMP investigators shifted focus. They began pulling digital data, phone records, GPS history, router logs, browser history. They re-examined the statements of Daniel Martell and Malaya Brooks.
And I guarantee you, when they took their phones
Yeah.
and his cousin, grandma or mom or grandma, whoever it was, took their phones, I guarantee you, out of 4 or 5 of them, a couple of them phones are bugged
Oh yeah.
before they ever got it back.
But nothing was shared with the public. No suspects, no persons of interest, no findings, just silence. The public took notice. Online forums exploded with questions. Did they just give up? Or did they find something they don't want us to know? Some speculated that authorities had found a lead and were choosing not to disclose it.
Tanya said,
Others
I'm
suggested
making
darker
my
theories,
friendship
that something
chain
had
red
happened.
this year.
Cool.
The friendship chain breed this year for Christmas.
There you go. Now, the other day when they was talking about, they said that them remains that were found looked like a child's remains. So if that's the case, and of course they had to move it and take it for analysis and DNA. Okay, well, that was just 2 days. 2 days, I think, 3.
Maybe.
When I seen that, it was on one of these crime show things. And it wasn't but like just so far from their home. And that may be why they're pulling out. Maybe they have got details from DNA and whatnot. And why else would they want to stop searching for a child?
Oh, hey, okay, Tanya. She said, I'll send y'all some when I break it and y'all can finish it or break it off for someone else, Christina. It's really yummy.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Internally, something that needed to be contained. Meanwhile, frustration among the First Nations community grew louder. Malaya's family members from Sapeknekitik First Nation began posting openly, calling for an independent search. Community walks, vigils, and pressure campaigns were launched. Still, there was no official reaction. No plan for a broader sweep. No engagement with neighboring properties.
And another thing to keep in your mind, Daniel or Malaya, neither one went to any vigils, has put nothing out for the babies. I hate to be rude.
Panel said, because I think they got all the evidence they need.
Yeah. I hate to really be rude in a way. Well, no, I don't, but I do. But they are no way you can find someone that is that low when it comes to trying to be a parent I mean, you won't go out and search for your children.
Joni's on.
Hey, Johnny. I mean, it don't make sense. They've been holding these little things all around the school and up and down the road and stuff. And she just, you know, she ain't gonna do a thing with it. He don't go to them or nothing.
Sabina said Daniel only thinking about Malachi, about getting Malachi.
Yeah,
Joni said hi.
they love.
Beck said, true, Sabina, they both are selfish and mean,
Well,
and everybody else is welcoming Joni.
see what's pissing her off now is that she can't get no Social Security money. I mean, no uh, child support money. You see, uh, so she can't get none on that. And now that this is feuding, I'm pretty sure since they took rights away from him, they know something that they've not told the public. And I don't think if I think that's why the mom is trying to make sure she don't text with him, because if they was to try to meet and CPS find out about it, they'll take that baby. And again, that baby, I hate to say this, it may not even be his.
That's true.
So she's screwed either way you want to look at it, because she's the mother of them. And regardless how this thing plays out, her butt's burnt. But to not even show up for a visual, I mean, what the heck, There is no sympathy from her. There is no feeling from her about anything.
Tanya,
What was it?
she said, I say hypnose them both. If they ain't hiding something, then they should do it, or the truth serum.
Truth serum?
Pamela said it doesn't matter if she has an attorney, she's going down just like him.
Yeah.
And sorry guys, I'm trying to read all the comments.
Well, I tell you what I believe, and I believe this is it.
Beck says same with Summer and Sebastian's cases.
Exactly. That's where they learned this from.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, they're covering for each other. And
said, I think that should be mandatory on missing children for the parents.
Yes, I believe he's covering for her. I believe she snapped, and the inevitable happened. But to tell you the truth, I think he's more afraid of how she's going to feel than worrying about the feelings of these babies, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
To him, she's probably everything. And now that probably for so long now, she ain't want nothing else to do with him. And like I said, this baby may not even be his, and he knows that. And I'm sure there was a fuss and a fight every day about the situation. And I believe something went south. And I still say I believe she's the aggressor, and he helped cover it. And I don't know. The other night I was sitting in here and I was studying him and studying him and studying him. And it seemed to me like he has so much rage of anger because of the way she's done him. But yet he loves her, if that makes any sense. And even though of doing something terrible to the children, he still covers for her because he loves her that way. That has to be some kind of dadgum.
Sick, twisted love. Right?
Well, I mean, it's got to be something not right in the head for sure.
Tanya said if they have nothing to hide, they won't. They don't. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry. If they have nothing to hide, they won't. They do that. You can pass a lie detector test and still be lying like crap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. They said that they went missing on the first. She left on the second. I mean, there you go.
Pamela said it's going to be any day now. They get arrested.
I don't doubt it a bit. I don't
yeah.
doubt it a bit. And I think that's why he's getting nervy up. Lord have mercy.
No follow-up interviews. Nothing. There was also no new evidence.
So apparently, right now, he's not even doing any interviews
Mm.
right now. And she sure as hell ain't.
Beck agrees with Pamela.
Yeah.
No items belonging to Lilly or Jack. No confirmed DNA. Not even the single boot print found in early May was ever verified or mentioned again. The footprint, the only known physical trace, was allowed to fade into irrelevance. And perhaps most
Yeah, because
critically,
y'all
there
let
was
people
no
walk
emerald.
all over it, you stupid bunch of people. And yeah, they was in that. Well, in that one, kind of in the beginning, they put her or found her boot under the sofa in the living room, and it matched the print in that mud out there, but just only one print. So, yeah, this guy here is just talking about the first gold deal or something other. He ain't telling it all.
Alert. Not even after 6 days with no signs, no clues, and no clear direction. RCMP repeated their position.
Tanya said,
There
I
is
think
no
there's
evidence of abduction.
going to be
For
more
many,
than one person that's
that
going
wasn't
to
good
be
enough.
arrested with them.
Adding to the
At least
confusion was the
4.
fact that the search perimeter never expanded beyond Gerlach Road. Despite online suggestions that the children may have been taken by vehicle, there was no record of traffic camera reviews,
They wouldn't
gas
take it by
station
no
footage,
vehicle.
or dash cam requests. The digital investigation was happening, but none of it reached the public. Even stranger, all media presence near the property was suddenly restricted. Reporters were asked to stay away from the wooded areas they had previously been allowed to film. No new photos were released. No images of the house. No scene documentation. The silence wasn't just passive. It was enforced. There was also the matter of last sighting.
Well, that'll tell you right there that they've got something. Because no pictures of inside the home,
Mm-hmm.
no pictures from the beginning. Very few in the surrounding area. Yeah, authorities know a lot more than what's coming out to the public. I can guarantee you that.
Media repeated that known independent sighting of the children was on April 29th by a school bus driver, but no neighbor, teacher, or third party was publicly confirmed to have seen them after May 1st.
Right.
That detail alone, unconfirmed, unverified, begged the question, had Lilly and Jack ever truly been seen that morning?
No.
By May 7th, the official social media
Yeah,
accounts
when
of
they carried them out
RCMP
the
Nova
house.
Scotia and the Pictou district had also gone quiet. No new updates. No calls for assistance. No infographics. No urgency. For a double child disappearance, the silence was deafening. And for many, one haunting question remained: if nothing was found, why stop searching? And
Right.
if something was found,
Now,
why weren't we
ain't
told?
that common sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only reason to stop, I mean, realistically, that would be the only reason to stop a search investigation is if you found something maintaining what you're searching for. I guarantee you they have found everything they need to have been found. I believe they're doing DNA, cause of whatever to put down on a statement of what it was. And until they do that, these are the only kind of updates we're going to be getting. Now, when it comes out, it'll probably be a quick, fast, swift deal because um, I figure they'll probably swoop in probably middle of the night or so to get uh, Daniel, and they wouldn't care what time to go get Malaya, but they know if they come in with lights blaring and sirens that Daniel's going to hit the woods. He would have a better chance of getting away. He knows that land. So they're going to have to play this thing smart. But they need to hurry and let everybody know, daggone it, if what the DNA has found.
Well, the search keep dying. By May 8th, the active search had mostly stopped. The forest, once filled with volunteers, search dogs, and aerial drones, had fallen silent. People who showed up to help that morning found no command post, no coordination, no one in charge. No one officially declared the search over, but everything on the ground suggested it already was. The operation faded, not with a conclusion, but with quiet disappearance. There were no updates from the RCMP, no press conferences, no new statements on social media. RCMP Nova Scotia and the Pictou district went silent. Journalists trying to access the area reported being pushed back. No new images were released. Local news outlets relied on old footage from earlier in the week. The silence was strange, unsettling, and it didn't go unnoticed. No new evidence was found. No clothes. No toys. No signs of struggle, no footprints. Not even the faint child-sized print found a few days before was mentioned again. It hadn't led anywhere.
Right there. See, what did he just say? What did he just daggum say? Now, did I not just mention that just a sec ago? They only found one daggum boot print, and it matched up to Lily's. And he said that dude right there, whoever's doing, what did you say this was, voiceover?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, finally, that nut job said something to meant something here. He said they didn't, hang on. They first talking about there wasn't no footprints, no nothing, this and that and other. And now he said that one boot print was the only thing that was seen in the beginnings, but never mentioned again. That's the very words he said, was never mentioned again.
Now it was gone from public conversation too. The forest, for all its vastness, had offered nothing. At this point, there was still no sign that RCMP had expanded the scope of the investigation. They hadn't canvassed gas stations. They hadn't asked for dashcam footage from passing vehicles. There were no reports of wider search zones beyond Gairloch Road. For many watching closely, it looked like RCMP either believed the children never left the area, or they knew they weren't there anymore. Behind the scenes, the investigation shifted entirely to the Major Crime Unit. Detectives quietly reviewed cell phone records, router logs, GPS data, and re-interviewed the parents. But none of that work was shared with the public.
Exactly.
No suspects. No official persons of interest. No forensic breakthroughs. Just silence and speculation. Within the Mi'kmaq community, the silence triggered frustration. Malia's family from the Sapeknkatik First Nation began speaking out online. Vigils were organized. People were no longer waiting for answers, they were demanding them. Some volunteers shared their confusion. They said they'd shown up on May 8, ready to help, only to find no one left in charge.
Yeah,
no direction.
About done.
Nothing. One user called it a ghost scene. The term disengagement by neglect began to circulate online, describing how authorities seemed to back away without ever saying they were done. Meanwhile, no senior officials had come forward. No high-ranking RCMP spokesperson. No provincial leader. Not even a recorded video statement. For a case involving two missing Indigenous children, the absence of leadership was painful and noticeable. There was one possible explanation: safety. One search team member anonymously told a local reporter that parts of the forest were too unstable after Hurricane Fiona. He said it wasn't safe to keep pushing people into dangerous terrain without leads. But that explanation never came officially from RCMP, and no alternative plan, like drone sweeps or expanded zones, was offered. The search hadn't been adjusted. It had simply stopped. In similar cases, police usually release maps, behavioral models, or even ask the public to check security footage. Here, none of that happened during May 8 or 9. The system seemed stuck, frozen. Even the basic question of who last saw or heard the children remained unanswered. Aside from Malia claiming she heard them early on May 2, no neighbors, friends, or teachers had been publicly confirmed as witnesses. Data from smart devices, if any existed,
when they pull out, when everybody backs out, they better watch out because they fitting to hammer down on them and see what they know, and some of them's done it for so many years. They can take him into custody, interrogate him for about 48 hours, and they're going to play him like a fiddle with an extra string on it, because they'll come back in one room and say, well, he's told us this or she's told us that. It's not matching what you said. And she's told or he's told a lot more than you're saying. So go ahead and tell the truth. Now it takes them several hours to get them going, but it won't. Within the 48 hours, they would start singing like birds. But that's the only way they're going to get it done.
Wasn't mentioned either. And so conspiracy theories began to bloom. Reddit threads speculated, were the kids even in the house that morning? Had something happened earlier that the public never knew about?
Yeah.
Some said the search itself may have been a distraction. A smokescreen. One thing was clear. As of May 9, there were more questions than ever, yet fewer answers than before. 2 weeks since Lilly and Jack Sullivan disappeared. The forest had gone quiet. The volunteers were gone. The search teams had pulled back. But on May 18th, something changed. Early that morning, the officers returned to the family's home on Gairloch Road. Not for a wellness check, not for a routine update. This time, they came with forensic gear. Multiple patrol cars arrived, followed by a van marked for crime scene processing. Yellow tape went up. Access was restricted. Neighbors watched from a distance as officers began sweeping the property. It was the first visible law enforcement activity at the house since the early days of the case. They weren't just walking through the home, they were examining it thoroughly. Officers carried in specialized equipment, 3D scanning cameras, ultraviolet lights, and scent detectors used to find decomposing organic material. The search extended beyond the main building to include the backyard, the shed, and the surrounding tree line. RCMP gave no real explanation. When reporters asked what prompted the sudden return, a spokesperson responded with a single vague line. We are following up on information that requires additional attention. Nothing more.
Now, wait just a minute here. Now, in one of these updated cases, they said they used that blue light spectrum in the home, and or in the at RV thing, whatever, the camper. Said it showed traces of blood, not a lot, but some traces of blood. Now I know for a fact that when you send off for that, it does take a while. I mean, it's not like you get it back in 24 hours. I've seen it take weeks to get stuff back. But they did say they did find blood, stained blood in there. So that's got to come out sometime or another. They got to tell that part.
Online, the silence was deafening. People wanted to know what had changed. Why now had they received a new tip? A digital lead? A confession? Or was this something they should have done from the very start? The community noticed something else, too: complete media blackout. Journalists were kept far from the house. No photos were released. No news crews allowed close. the investigation was sealed off visibly and deliberately. Some began asking, what are they trying to hide? Meanwhile, reports circulated that RCMP were collecting electronic devices a Wi-Fi router, older phones, computer hard drives, possibly even video from doorbell cameras. The family truck, a gray pickup belonging to Daniel Martell, was also searched thoroughly inside, outside, and in the back.
Now hold on. Now out of them four page long that we've got from them so far, they've been only one time.
Pamela said, I really think something happened in the bathroom.
Well, it all definitely happened in the house. But what I was saying was there's only one time that the word truck was mentioned amongst all four pages. Because I didn't know what kind of vehicles they daggum had. I didn't know if they had cars or what, you know. Because at first I wasn't looking at this place, you know, and the surrounding stuff. And I mean, I can go in there and get the paperwork right now. I'm going to show you. One time only, they said truck. So, yeah. Whatever happened late Thursday night or very, very early Friday morning. And it may not even be the Thursday, Friday that they're even speaking of. It could have been the week ahead. Because again, you know, now we know that they had been out of school for a week. So, yeah.
Still, nothing was confirmed. Despite the renewed activity, no arrests were made. No suspects named. No press conference followed. When RCMP left the scene on May 19th, they gave no statement about what was found, or if anything was found at all. The absence of answers only fueled speculation. Some believed police had discovered something, but were withholding it. Others thought this might have been a pressure tactic or a response to community outrage. And that outrage was real. For the Mi'kmaq community, the return to the home felt like a vindication that maybe they had been right to question the official narrative. Malaya's relatives began speaking out more openly. Calls for an independent investigation grew louder. Still, there were no Amber Alerts, no confirmations, no closure. Whatever RCMP was doing behind closed doors, they weren't sharing it with the public. And the longer the silence dragged on, the more it felt like trust was breaking down, for good. 2 weeks gone, 2 children missing, and a house that now held more questions than ever before. After May 19th, 2025, the forest grew still again, but this time, for good. There were no more search teams combing through the woods. No drones, no volunteers. As of June 10, there were no reports of any large-scale ground operations. The RCMP had officially transitioned from active search efforts to a quieter, more focused phase of investigation. The boots on the ground were gone. What remained was a growing silence and the weight of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
On May 28th, nearly 4 weeks after the disappearance, the RCMP finally released a formal timeline.
Where's the
It
truck?
confirmed what many had suspected. The last verified public sighting of Lilly and Jack was in the afternoon of May 1, not May 2 as earlier implied. The police also issued a public call for dashcam footage taken around Gairloch Road from noon to nightfall on May 1. It was the first official attempt to crowdsource visual evidence from the public. For many, the question was obvious: why had it taken this long? Despite these efforts, there were no new leads. As of June 10, investigators had yet to find any physical trace, confirmed sighting, or digital evidence that could clearly indicate where Lilly and Jack had gone. Authorities continued to encourage tips, particularly involving photos, videos, or GPS data from the time and location in question. But the trail was still cold.
Tanya
Meanwhile,
asked
behind
if
closed
you've ever
doors,
heard
the
about
focus of the investigation appeared to shift. By late,
What?
I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Asked if I know about what?
About the Erwin and Orson West brothers that went missing.
Uh, no,
I pronounced that name, so I am sorry if I'm saying wrong.
no, I had no.
Tanya said they have the foster parents in jail, but they haven't found them little babies yet.
How old was the babies?
Tanya, how old were they? Tanya, how old was the babies?
You know that's the thing with me. If a child is
3 and 4.
3 and 4, if a child is
I heard
really,
Lim said she heard of them and they are twins.
my goodness, uh, like I said, 9 times out of 10, I try to not do one under
Yeah.
under 5, but
And Beck said they have looked away for those little boys.
where are they from?
Tanya?
You may have to type it in. They may not can hear me from here. Where were they from? Would have to know state, city, or county.
Tanya
all
said
this.
yes, they have, and they still haven't found them.
Yes, they have what?
I'm guessing. Oh, in Arizona, by the way, because of Beck commenting, saying they have looked away for those little boys,
Oh,
and it's in Arizona.
send me a clip on it. One that talks about it and everything.
And she said, look up Oregon and Ars West. I can't pronounce those names right.
You said Oregon,
I think so. Orin.
Orion.
That one. And Orson.
Okay. All right.
May, family dynamics began to draw more scrutiny. Malaya Brooks, Murray, the mother, left the family's Gerlach Road property with her youngest child, Meadow. She updated her social media relationship status and quietly deleted posts related to the search. These
See, look
subtle
there.
but pointed changes didn't go unnoticed by either investigators or the public. For many observers,
Two
it marked a turn.
monsters adopted those little boys, Beck said.
Bless them. So everything like what we're watching now, like updates.
Mm-hmm.
So Malaya is deleting every one of them. She's not wanting to see the pictures of the babies. That's what the problem is, because she knows what happened to them. And I've talked to somebody before that had committed murder, and he told me that the investigators, when they was interrogating him, that they showed him pictures, and he threw up all over the place.
Mm.
It's a standard thing that if something gruesome has happened and the person knows it, even knows anything about
Tanya just sent it.
it, okay, they cannot stand to see the pictures of whoever or whatever they have done. And she's showing all signs of her being the aggressor.
Mm.
I mean, like I said, common sense goes a long way, people use it. She is definitely the aggressor.
in ton a retreat from the public eye, and perhaps a sign of deeper turmoil within the home. Together, these developments painted a disturbing picture. The searches had stopped, the police had gone quiet, and the family had fractured. Yet, still, no bodies, no answers, no closure. Just silence, shadows, and the question that wouldn't go away: where are Lily and Jack? And why does it feel like everyone stopped looking? What was missed? From the very beginning, the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan raised more questions than answers. But perhaps even more troubling than the mystery itself was the response that followed. Over time, it became clear there were critical missteps, delays, oversights, and missed opportunities that may have cost investigators the chance to find the children in those vital early hours.
Yep.
The most glaring failure was the decision not to activate an Amber Alert. Both Lily and Jack were under 10 years old and classified as vulnerable missing persons. Yet the RCMP refused to trigger the emergency alert system. Their explanation was simple: there wasn't specific evidence of an abduction. But experts agree that's exactly when you need the public's help the most.
Yep.
During those chaotic, confusing first 48 hours, when a broader alert could have changed everything. Throughout the ground search, the geographic scope remained shockingly limited. Search teams never expanded beyond the forested area near Gerlach Road. No efforts were made to check nearby highways, gas stations, or transit hubs, places a kidnapper might have used to disappear quickly. It felt as if the RCMP had already decided the children were close by. But with no physical evidence to support that theory, why did they stay locked on that assumption? Adding to public frustration, the RCMP didn't request dashcam or CCTV footage from the public until May 28, nearly 4 weeks after Lily and Jack vanished. By that point, most relevant footage would have already been erased or overwritten. In cases like this, time is everything, and the delay sent a clear message that collecting community evidence had been a top priority. Worse still, public communication was minimal, scattered, and often vague. After May 6, there were no major press briefings, no clear updates, no face of leadership to reassure the community that the case remained a top priority. Instead, residents were left with brief quotes from on-scene officers and a growing sense that something was being hidden. That brings us to another missing piece. No behavioral modeling was ever shared or referenced. In most child disappearance cases, search and rescue teams use established data models, tools that predict how far a child might go, or where they might hide, based on age, neurodiversity, or panic response. This case had none of that. No published search grids, no expert input on how children on the autism spectrum might behave, just silence. There were also troubling delays in the initial response. The 911 call came in at 10:00 a.m. on May 2. But to this day, the RCMP hasn't confirmed when officers actually arrived or began their search. That absence of a clear timeline created early distrust and made it difficult for anyone to understand what really happened in those crucial first hours.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, digital evidence phones, Wi-Fi routers, GPS records was seized early in May, yet no analysis was ever released. Not a single update. Not
See,
even a
they're mentioning the stuff that they got, phones and computers and this, that, and other, but they're not telling us nothing that was on these things. They don't need to throw up a update unless they're gonna tell you some new stuff.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, why do we want to sit here and listen to the same thing we already know?
Yeah, for real.
I mean, I got 4 pages long in there of everything from the beginning plumb to the end. But I know everybody likes watching these updates, but every once in a while throw in a little something new. Okay?
Right, for real.
You know, I know they're saying, are they looking for the kids? Well, we know that the search teams has done pulled out, helicopters pulled out, drones pulled out. Maybe they're finally taking somebody's word at it to back the heck off and just let them get caught in their own trap. You know, maybe that's what they're trying to get a point across here. I don't know. Bunch of nuts, what I say.
information of whether any data was usable. In an age where digital breadcrumbs often lead to answers, the silence was deafening.
Throw him in some
But perhaps
handcuffs,
most
Beck
alarming
said.
are the investigative paths that were never explored or
Yeah.
fully pursued. There's no record of traffic cameras being checked, no known attempts to trace unusual vehicles, no indication that nearby businesses were canvassed for surveillance footage in the days before the disappearance. And there were no public efforts to identify strangers who may have visited the area between April 28 and May 2. Internally, the family dynamic raised red flags, social media deletions, changing relationship statuses, emotional withdrawal, yet no public profiling or family behavior analysis was ever shared. In missing child cases, family insight can be the key to truth. That door seemed left untouched. The timeline of events, especially on the morning of May 2, was never made clear. We don't know who saw the children last. We don't know when they were last heard. And without those answers, the chain of events becomes impossible to reconstruct. That's not just frustrating, it's dangerous. There was also no public acknowledgement of potential natural hazards. The area around the home was littered with storm debris from Hurricane Fiona. Could the kids have fallen, gotten stuck, been injured by nature, not man? No one knows, because that theory, too, seems to have gone uninvestigated. Looking back, it wasn't just that doomed this case. It was the lack of action, the lack of transparency, the lack of urgency. Every day that passed without answers made one question louder than all the rest.
All they'd have to do is watch JSV for about 2 hours. They figure out what you need to know.
Could this have been prevented if someone had just looked sooner, wider, or harder? The disappointment. From the moment Lilly and Jack Sullivan disappeared, the public expected an aggressive, transparent, and well-coordinated search and investigation effort from law enforcement. What they witnessed instead was a cascade of delays, opacity, and decisions that many have called premature, dismissive, or simply negligent. Below is a comprehensive summary of the most serious criticisms leveled at the RCMP throughout the case. One of the most immediate and controversial decisions was RCMP's announcement on May 7, 2025, to scale down and ultimately halt the active ground search. This decision came just 5 days after the children were reported missing, with no confirmed physical evidence, sightings, or known leads. The move shocked and infuriated not only the Sullivan family, but also the broader public. Daniel Martell, the children's stepfather, publicly condemned the halt, insisting the children could still be nearby. Michelle Glasgow, a respected figure from the Sapeknekitik First Nation, echoed his concerns, warning that the search had been called off too soon and suggesting that it reinforced long-standing systemic disregard for Indigenous families. Online, thousands echoed a haunting phrase: children don't just disappear.
No, children don't just disappear.
Despite the vulnerability and young age of the victims, RCMP chose not to issue an Amber Alert, citing the lack of evidence pointing to abduction. While technically within their procedural bounds, the choice appeared grossly out of step with public expectation. Critics labeled it an overly rigid, bureaucratic interpretation of policy. Many experts and family advocates argued that the Amber Alert system exists precisely for moments like this, where time is of the essence and full situational clarity is absent. The decision reinforced allegations of systemic bias, particularly against Indigenous families. Michelle Glasgow went further, suggesting that had the children not been part of a First Nations community, the response might have looked very different. One of the most consistent frustrations voiced by the public and media was RCMP's opacity. There were long stretches with no updates, no press conferences, and no clarification about the status of the investigation. Criminologist Dr. Michael Arnold from Western University criticized RCMP's strategy, saying, "They're keeping too much in the dark. This isn't how you encourage public cooperation." Without regular updates, online speculation filled the void, often descending into chaotic theorizing. Was someone in the family a suspect? Did RCMP have evidence they weren't sharing? These questions proliferated, and RCMP's silence only fueled them. On May 7th, during a long-awaited press
They
briefing,
are
Sergeant Carly
they
McCann
are
opened.
so much stuff, details, proof in the pudding, all this stuff that they are not putting out to the public. I don't understand it. I mean, if they've got enough for grounds to, well, they got enough grounds right now to get them just for neglect of children. But if they got DNA or any of that good stuff, I mean, they need to go ahead and close the case and not let it linger on until they get uh, like a suspicious text to one another or just something stupid, waiting for the what they claim the right moment to do anything. That's bullcrap. They they know something because they pulled everybody out there. They wouldn't have done that if they didn't find something. And go ahead and put them in the jailhouse, and then after they tell everything, then send them on to prison. Uh, they could have done had this took care of, but I do know for a fact they would not have stopped the search if they hadn't have already found something that was definitely, definitely foul play. And they they should just not hold it from the public like that. Go ahead and arrest them. I know they don't want to put it out to the public until they're arrested. But go ahead and arrest them, get that part over with, because they're not out looking for them no way. So then, go ahead and do your job. Let everybody know what's going on, and you give them a proper proper setting, and they deserve it. They've been through enough. It's just cold hearted that Daniel and her are still lingering this thing on. They We know for sure she don't have a heart in her chest. Um, Daniel, I think he's just all scared up, don't know what to say really, because he's covering for her, and it's just a bad deal all the way around. But they would feel much better if they'd go ahead and get it off their chest and just be done with this thing. Hey Donna, how you doing, love? Yeah, oh yeah, one of them. Well, I'm gonna say Daniel will probably get the lesser deal here because I think now that I've studied her, I think she's the aggressor. I think she just went nuts and acted on her thoughts, and I think him and her got into it. She slapped him across the face, scratched him, and she left. Yep, that's what I believe.
With acknowledgments about unceded indigenous territory and historical African Nova Scotian contributions. While culturally aware in other contexts, many found the timing baffling. National Post columnist Terry Newman labeled it a tone-deaf PR stunt that detracted from the urgency of two missing children. Instead of focusing the message entirely on the urgency of the case and the practical next steps, the RCMP appeared to some as shifting into damage control mode or virtue signaling. The backlash was immediate and widespread. Another point of contention was the geographic limitation of the search. Despite early calls from Martel and others to expand the operation beyond the immediate forested area near Gerlach Road, RCMP stuck rigidly to a local perimeter. There were no reports of coordinated outreach to
Yeah,
regional
but they're probably
transportation
going to
hubs,
try to.
such as bus stations, airports, or border.
They're probably going to try to keep that on the down low, un, until they think that they got this whooped. Because when your man starts showing up there at her place, and that's going to rile up him and all this. So, but it's going to come out in the wash anyway, because if that baby is not his, then she better hope that they're already in the jailhouse, because he'll probably get her for sure if it ain't his. Hey, Lisa.
Border crossings. No alerts were sent to neighboring provinces. As days passed without discovery, the failure to broaden the scope began to appear less like caution and more like a strategic blunder. Throughout the ordeal, family members, including Daniel Martel, made numerous public requests to broaden outreach, acquire better technology, and increase visibility for the case. Those calls were, in large part, ignored. The family also requested that RCMP engage with independent media and third-party investigators to amplify the story. These efforts were met with silence or vague deflections. The appearance of a dismissive attitude only widened the rift between investigators and the affected community. By the second week of May, RCMP communications had slowed to a crawl. Press briefings became rare. Many accounts remained dormant. For the public, the message was clear: law enforcement was losing interest. Rumors soon began to circulate that RCMP was quietly trying to wrap up the case, to avoid further embarrassment. Whether true or not, the agency's minimal visibility lent credibility to those suspicions. RCMP also faced criticism for failing to validate a potential clue found early in the search. A small footprint, discovered roughly 300 meters from the house in early May, was never publicly confirmed as belonging to either child. There was no follow-up of the print was analyzed for size, depth, or potential match, nor was there any behavioral interpretation provided, such as whether the location or direction of the print indicated wandering, fear, or abduction. In the absence of explanation, this singular trace of the children's presence vanished from official communication. Law enforcement also missed opportunities to apply behavioral modeling techniques. In missing children cases, it's common to employ lost person behavior models to predict movement patterns based on age, cognitive profile, and environment. Despite the mother's statement that Lilly and Jack might be on the autism spectrum, there was no evidence the RCMP ever consulted experts in child psychology or utilized specialized search algorithms. This omission potential to misdirected search efforts or missed clues. Another widely discussed issue was the delay in requesting public assistance with dash cam footage or home security videos. In similar cases across North America, police agencies routinely ask for such footage within 24 to 70 hours. In this case, RCMP waited until May 28th, nearly 4 weeks after the disappearance, to make such a request. By that point, much of the footage was likely overwritten or lost. As a result, potentially crucial leads were erased by time and inertia. Internally, questions were also raised about RCMP's data analysis capabilities. Though police reportedly seized phones, routers, and digital records from the family home early on, there were no updates about the findings. No timeline of text messages, no GPS data, no usage logs were released. This created the...
That's because it happened just at a spur of a moment. I'm telling you, they were fighting and it just blew up and everything went south. This wasn't no planned out deal.
Impression that either RCMP found something incriminating and withheld it.
Hey, Donna.
Or worse, that they lacked the resources or expertise to interpret the data. RCMP was also faulted for not investigating external possibilities thoroughly enough. There was no indication that law enforcement analyzed nearby highway or commercial CCTV cameras to track suspicious vehicles. Delivery drivers, postal workers, or visitors to the area were never publicly identified or interviewed. Critics pointed out that a well-organized abduction could have taken place in mere minutes, and without investigating those who had access to the area in the preceding days, police missed a critical angle. Finally, the psychological and social dynamics within the home remained underexplored. As tensions within the family became visible, with changes to social media, deleted posts, and changes in living arrangements, RCMP made no public indication that behavioral analysts were involved. In high-risk missing child cases, family stressors and inconsistencies are often key indicators. Ignoring this dimension left a gaping hole in the investigation. In summary, the investigation into Lilly and Jack Sullivan's disappearance has been widely criticized as mishandled. From prematurely ending search efforts and failing to issue an Amber Alert, to opaque communication and limited geographic scope, RCMP's actions have prompted outrage and heartbreak. When a system built to protect its most vulnerable falters this badly, the damage extends beyond the case itself. It undermines trust, deepens historical wounds, and leaves families like the Sullivans with more questions than answers. Until those questions are faced directly and transparently, no closure can be offered, and no justice can truly be done. The found footage of the children. As the ground search ended and the silence deepened, it wasn't witnesses or confessions that offered clues, but technology. Data, drones, satellite scans. Yet even then, what was found didn't bring clarity, it only made the mystery sharper. These are the traces investigators have clung to. And the real question is that are they signs of truth, or just more noise?
Just like that female that's speaking for them said lake, and then she said like a creek. Something about mud.
In what seemed like a breakthrough, the RCMP confirmed that surveillance footage had captured images believed to show Lilly and Jack Sullivan. But from the very beginning, the announcement was vague, almost too vague to bring any real comfort. Authorities declined to share where the footage was taken. Was it near their home on Gairloch Road? Was it miles away? More critically, they didn't say when it was recorded. Was it before the children went missing, or after the disappearance was reported on May 2nd? The police also said nothing about the children's condition in the footage. Were they alone afraid, being led by someone? That lack of detail raised serious concerns. Without a specific timestamp or location, it was impossible for the public, or even the press, to determine the context of the video. Some questioned whether the footage showed Lilly and Jack at all, or just two kids who resembled them from a distance. And while the RCMP confirmed they were analyzing it, no frame, still, or even a basic description was shared. Adding to the uncertainty, the origin of the footage wasn't disclosed. Who submitted it? Was it from a residential security camera, a retail store, a highway dash cam? And were the children alone or accompanied by an adult? There were no answers, no length of the video, no frame analysis, no cross-checking with known sightings, just a vague promise that authorities were looking into it. Worse still, there was no indication that the video was ever compared against witness statements. If Daniel Martel had claimed he last saw the kids inside the house early on May 2nd, and this footage was from that same day, why wasn't that timeline addressed? Did the kids appear to be walking freely?
Yeah.
Were they dressed the same as described? And if it was taken prior to May 1st, what value did it really hold? It would only confirm their existence, not their fate. To this day, no third party, not even store clerks, witnesses, or civilians, has stepped forward to validate the sighting. That absence matters. Without corroboration, the footage remains in a gray zone between hope and speculation. The RCMP has not stated if facial recognition technology or AI analysis was used to confirm the children's identities. This is especially significant considering AI had previously been employed in this case to analyze satellite imagery and surface anomalies. What's even more frustrating is that the video has not been linked to any other existing clues. It doesn't appear to capture the suspicious gray SUV seen passing the house multiple times, nor does it include the wide, brimmed hat woman flagged by satellite image analysis. It's unclear if the setting matches any area near the rectangular patch of disturbed soil previously identified by AI. Without those connections, the footage feels like an isolated anomaly, a detail without a thread. The RCMP's lack of transparency in presenting the footage only intensified public skepticism. Was this an attempt to calm a restless community? To create the illusion of progress in a case growing colder by the day? On social media, the reaction was sharp. Many accused the police of feeding false hope. Others saw it as a possible red herring, a way to stall while more critical investigations were underway. The phrase, hope or distraction, became more than a headline. It became a dividing line between belief and doubt. The police themselves may have inadvertently confirmed how limited the footage was when they issued a follow-up plea, asking the public to submit more dashcam footage, surveillance clips, or drone video from April 28th to May 2nd. If the original footage was decisive, why would they need more? This strongly suggests that the video in question was incomplete, lacking the context or clarity needed to move the case forward. It might show movement, but not a destination. Faces, but not fate. And so, what could have been a breakthrough now lingers as another question mark. A blurry video, unverified subjects, an ambiguous timeline. It could become the thread that unravels the truth, or just another mirage in a case already thick with dead ends.
Yeah.
The suspicious presence from AI. In the weeks leading up to Lilly and Jack Sullivan's disappearance, a gray SUV triggered multiple alerts during an AI-enhanced satellite sweep. It wasn't just one sighting. The vehicle was detected on 4 separate early mornings, always moving past the Sullivan residence. Each time, it stopped at the same nearby intersection. Odd behavior for a quiet rural area with virtually no regular traffic. Investigators flagged this as a behavioral red flag, a pattern that suggested intentional surveillance or repeated reconnaissance.
Yeah,
What
they're,
raised more suspicion was the SUV's presence.
yeah, they're beautiful. Now I was talking not for last the last time we did a spirit box session with Jack and Lily. I heard that females say station, and I mentioned that. I said, "Ain't there something a Lansdowne station?" And look right there, Lansdowne station.
Yeah.
So they're putting it down like it is. I'm telling you,
They sure are.
if people just listen. Now you see how that Goodlock Road, you can come down so far right there at 289 and take that shortcut. Remember how they said the road, a back road from their home, it cuts down. You see what I'm talking about? Lansdale Station, Goodlock. There's the little side road. Come down through here. There's your Lansdowne Station. From here, wherever their marker is, right, right in here somewhere. That wouldn't take me just a little bit to get from there down here. And if it would move on down, there's water sources. That stream you seen a while ago, it's all up through there. Mm-hmm.
In not just one, but 2 key locations. Besides passing by the Sullivan home, it was also detected near a vacant commercial property, roughly 800 meters away, a location that had already been flagged by investigators due to a mysterious rectangular patch of disturbed ground captured in satellite imagery. The SUV didn't match any vehicles registered to Daniel Martell, Malaya Brooks, Murray, or even anyone else living in the area.
Well, that strange vehicle was not theirs either. And it kept stopping right there in that direction on that very spot. What the heck else you want to know?
Cold. RCMP never publicly confirmed whether they had identified the vehicle, run its plates, or even attempted to trace it through local traffic cameras or road registry databases. No one from the neighborhood came word saying they'd seen it. No one could describe the driver. It was as if this vehicle ghosted in and out of the investigation, leaving behind a digital trace, but no human eyewitness. Its lack of a visible connection to the scene or to the family only added to the mystery. At the same time,
Cousin,
AI picked up another anomaly, a woman in a wide, brimmed hat. She appeared in 2 satellite images, roughly 1.2 kilometers apart, over a 5-day span. The times and locations of her appearances were strange, unpopulated zones. No clear reason to be there, and at similar hours each day. There were no trails, no shops, no homes. Just her, out of place and out of context. Her attire and movements didn't match any known residents, nor did her presence align with any public activities or events. Still, no facial image, no identification, and no physical camera footage ever surfaced. The RCMP hasn't released her name or even labeled her a suspect, and not a single person from the community has recognized or acknowledged seeing someone who fits her description. Critically, there's no established link between her and the SUV. No footage, no timestamp overlay, and no GPS data connecting her to the vehicle, the house, or the kids. Her repeated presence remains unexplained, but just unexplained enough to keep her under review. These two anomalies, a vehicle that doesn't belong and a person who doesn't fit, represent some of the strongest digital traces the investigation has. Yet their value is being limited by a stunning lack of follow-up verification. There's no confirmation that police used facial recognition or gait analysis to confirm the woman's identity. No enhanced imaging, no indication that RCMP even overlaid her movements on a map with the SUV's activity or with the family's timeline. It's unclear whether GPS data or signal tracing were used to track her, or if these sightings were merely isolated events interpreted by the AI system. And the community is noticing. People are asking, why haven't we heard more? Why aren't we seeing composite sketches, surveillance stills, or vehicle alerts? Why hasn't anyone been ruled out or in? The unfortunate reality is that without further confirmation, these leads remain just shadows. They raise.
How are they not going to the store? How are they not getting something to eat?
Unless they were one of those type of people that stocked up onto everything, like people would do for like a tornado watch or something like that.
Well,
You know how people used to have like those bunkers and all?
yeah,
Maybe they had one of those and just had it completely full of all sorts of food.
I don't know. I don't know.
So a lot of people do stock up on a lot of food. And all.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people stock up on some canned food and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, still in general, why are they no sightings of any of them going to the store or to town just to get out of the house?
Right.
You know, because they look more suspect if they didn't get out in public.
Unless they did and they were on video, but
And they just are not telling
every
it.
place is being already having so many cameras that footage is probably lost somewhere or another been overlapped.
Yeah.
Because that does
The
happen.
possibility of a third
Yeah.
party abduction, of premeditated planning, of someone watching. But in the absence of hard data or clear links, there's still just puzzle pieces floating outside the frame, whether the SUV and the unknown woman are central to the case or simply red herrings. One thing is clear, they deserved more attention than they got.
Maybe he had a girlfriend
If someone out
on
there
the side,
recognizes the vehicle or the woman, it could be the break this case desperately needs. Until then, they remain silent threads in a case already woven with silence. One of the most haunting pieces of evidence in this entire investigation wasn't found by people on the ground. It came from the sky. When RCMP shifted their focus from physical search to digital investigation, they partnered with satellite imaging companies Maxar Technologies and Planet Labs. With the help of AI, a strange patch of Earth was flagged, an oddly clean, rectangular section of disturbed dirt, roughly 2 meters in length. It appeared sometime after May 1st and vanished within days. It wasn't near any trail, road, or home, and it didn't look like farmland. It looked
They
planned.
said plainly, a mile and a half in, I've got it on paper, a mile and a half in, 1 to 2 feet apart, and a rural area, and then little boys said, in woods.
The shape and timing of this patch raised immediate suspicions. This wasn't just a random bit of disturbed soil. It was precise. It was isolated. And it came and went just as the world started looking for Lilly and Jack. Analysts say it didn't line up with normal terrain changes.
See,
It didn't look natural. AI software tracked shadows cast across the plot over time. Those shadows changed, like something had been dug up, then filled in. And after May 5th, all activity in that area stopped. Nothing else touched it again. RCMP never released the exact coordinates.
maybe in that shed there's some rolls of plastic or something other, and
Mm-hmm.
because now they got a brand new blue tarp over the top of it that don't even have a cutout for the door. Or, I mean, that's just one theory. Two,
Yeah.
there could be shovels and whatnot. Dirt could be different in that rural area than there. It could be red clay or,
Oh yeah.
more of a soft type mud than you would have in their own front yard. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Number of things it could be.
But investigators estimate that it was within 400 to 600 meters of the Sullivan home, close enough for someone to reach by foot, under
See?
cover of night,
See,
without drawing attention. That's a key detail.
there you go.
Someone could have walked out, done something, and walked back without anyone noticing. If
Exactly.
that spot held evidence, anything from clothing to a body, it could explain how 2 children disappeared without a trace. Here's the problem. We still don't know if the police ever physically checked it.
I doubt
No
that.
confirmation of digging. No mention of radar scans. No forensic reports.
They ain't gonna
In
raise
any
no
other
blister.
case, a patch like this would get a full excavation. But in this case, just silence. If they did investigate, they're not saying.
With so
That Hey, so it was kind of funny when the authorities up there apologized for their lack of professionalism. They know that they messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it tastes like vinegar coming out their mouth trying to apologize for that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But they admitted it.
And that's fueling more doubt than confidence. This lack of transparency has hit a nerve with the public. Online forums, Reddit threads, and true crime communities are all asking the same thing. Why hasn't RCMP confirmed what they did or didn't do at that site? Why leave such an obvious lead in the dark? Several theories have formed around this one plot of land. Some believe it was a temporary burial site, dug fast, used quickly, then concealed before search teams ever got close. Others say it was
Wait a minute. Hold on. Now, if you add 2 and 2, what does that make?
4.
Okay. So logic in that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The time span that it took before they called authorities, what did they just say they would have had time to go and do? Make it look like it was never disturbed. To bury something and just walk back home like nothing ever happened. In distance of just walking at night, anybody could walk there, come back without being seen by anybody. I mean, okay, I guess they are telling some new detail here. I still like to know what's in that shed.
Right, for real.
It could be a big roll of plastic, or uh, maybe a shovel, or a pickaxe that's got different type of dirt on it, or anything, or DNA, or just whatever.
Dump spot. A place to stash something for a day or two before moving it permanently.
Sabina said in
There's
the
even a
country
theory that it was
at
part
night
of a
it's
larger
so
plan.
dark you can't see nothing.
Right. Exactly.
That is true though in the country.
That's right.
Something premeditated. You don't dig a perfect rectangle deep in the woods for no reason. That kind of work takes time and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a quiet, more unsettling theory. Maybe it was dismissed. Maybe authorities saw it, shrugged it off, and walked away. If that happened, if this was the one solid clue and it got ignored, that could be a devastating failure.
Oh yeah.
What complicates things further are the connections to other suspicious elements. Around the same time that the patch appeared, AI also detected a gray SUV, repeatedly circling the Sullivan home and
There.
stopping at the same intersection.
What did I
It was
just
never-
say? What did I just say?
Here's an idea. Use the satellite to look.
Why
And
don't they go
investigate.
back to that spot, dig it up, and see what was going on? They had plenty of time to do it before they made the call saying that the kids were missing. Okay. They done said in one update that vehicle kept stopping at the same exact spot every time. Maybe they could see it through the thicket, right where to go and to do this. And who knows? It may not be them in that grave. It could be something they used. Pillows.
A certain type of weapon.
Yeah, any type of weapon, or
Clothes.
Yeah,
muddy,
clothing,
or just bloody clothes.
yeah, anything.
Oh yeah.
But that would be enough to bust the
Oh
head
yeah.
wide open.
Which is why they
Identify.
would want to
Not registered
bury it and
locally.
hide
Right.
it so they can't possibly let that come to light.
But then again, if they do go and investigate it, they're not going to want to tell it to the public.
Yeah, no.
They're not
no,
going
no,
to say
no, no,
really
no.
much of nothing to the public
No.
until they're behind bars,
Yeah, no.
and then we'll get to watch their
Because
interviews.
that gives them more time to flee out of the country
Exactly.
or just quickly
Oh,
pack
I-
their
oh,
bags and just quickly move or anything.
I'm sure they get they have a no fly zone.
Oh, I'm sure.
I guarantee you.
Most likely.
They're a flight risk.
Oh yeah.
Claimed by anyone in the case. Could it be connected? And what about the
Come
unknown
in.
woman in the wide, brimmed hat, spotted
Well,
twice
come in.
in strange areas at strange times? Could she be tied
Come
to
in.
this spot? No one knows. Or if someone does, they're not saying. Some believe RCMP is holding back on purpose, maybe to protect an active investigation. Maybe they're monitoring the site to see if someone returns.
Exactly.
That's not unusual in cases like this. But when the public is desperate for answers, silence looks a lot like incompetence.
Oh
Or
yeah.
worse, a cover-up. The rectangular patch
But
of
if
dirt
they will stay, if they will leave, I said this before we even got started good. If they would leave and get out the dadgum way and just leave someone lingering around, okay, maybe in stealth mode somehow or another, you're just lingering around, I guarantee you, if that is where they hid something or them, they're going to walk back to it, and curiosity will make them bust if they don't do it. They'll walk back there to see if any of that has been disturbed.
Oh yeah.
Period. I mean, people will throw people in a lake, and if you watch them, they will walk back to that very spot and see if they can see them in eye distance, or if they're tangled up on something and some part is sticking out of the water. And if so, they'll go to it, tie a rock to it again, and put it back underwater. Same thing there. They'd be so nervy, Yeah.
Dirt is still one of the strongest pieces of physical evidence in this case. It's the only thing the ground has given us. No shoes, no backpacks, no toys, no footprints. Just dirt, moved, then covered up. In a case full of empty rooms and missing data, this one piece of land might hold more truth than anything else. Or it might be just another mystery with no end. But if it means anything, if it ever means anything, someone needs to speak up. Because in a case of this cold, every inch of disturbed earth deserves a second look.
Yep.
Weighted clues. In the case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, the problem isn't just a lack of clues, it's the overwhelming number of unconnected ones. Each major lead appears to point in a different direction. The surveillance footage doesn't link to the gray SUV.
Comment.
The SUV
Tori.
isn't seen near the rectangular patch of
Hey, Tori.
disturbed soil. The unidentified woman in the wide-brimmed hat doesn't appear with either the vehicle or the children. Instead of building a unified timeline, each clue spins off into its own narrative. The investigation, rather than narrowing down, has splintered into competing theories. This fragmentation has serious consequences. Investigators are forced to follow parallel paths that may never. Without coordination, these fragmented leads can confuse the investigation, drain resources, and prolong the agony of not knowing what really happened to the children. Another major issue is the lack of contextual detail. The surveillance footage has no verified timestamp or confirmed location. The SUV's license plate was never identified. The woman spotted by AI hasn't been recognized by anyone in the area. And the disturbed earth hasn't been confirmed as ever being properly excavated or tested. These missing pieces turn potential breakthroughs into speculation.
Tori
Even
said
valid
she's
clues,
not feeling
without
good and has a
grounding,
sore throat.
risk being dismissed or misinterpreted.
Tori said what?
She's not feeling good and has a sore throat going on.
Everybody throw up prayers for Tori. Feeling well right now. I know the feeling, love. My voice has been going in and out all day too. I noticed it started doing it up there at that Welcome Home Cemetery. It's got my throat real scratchy, you know. Sorry about that too. But everybody throw out a prayer for
That's what people do
Tori.
now.
There's also growing concern that some of these leads may be inaccurate, or worse, manipulated. With so much reliance on satellite imagery and AI analysis, the possibility of false positives can't be ignored. AI might interpret shadows or ground patterns as meaningful, when they're not. Surveillance clips can be altered, taken out of context, or selectively shared to shape public perception. In the worst case scenario, some of these leads might be intentionally misleading, meant to distract or delay justice. Naturally, the public is reacting to this uncertainty. Online communities have filled in the blanks with speculation. Some believe the SUV is part of a trafficking network. Others think the rectangular dirt patch was a temporary burial site. Some suspect the woman in the hat was involved in a religious cult or a custody plot. And questions continue to swirl around the authenticity of the surveillance footage itself. Is it recent? Is it even real? These theories, while understandable, are pulling public attention away from confirmed facts and muddying the waters further. Despite the importance of each clue, no effort appears to have been made to connect them forensically. Investigators haven't mapped out whether the SUV or the woman were ever near the dirt site. No gait or facial recognition was used to confirm if the children were in the footage. There's been no soil sampling from the disturbed patch. Without sensing timelines and locations, all these pieces remain isolated, offering more confusion than clarity. Worse still, these unconfirmed leads create an emotional roller coaster. News of a new video brings hope, but with no clear date or context, that hope might be baseless. The same goes for the SUV and the mysterious patch of earth. Families, friends, and even the public are being tossed between optimism and despair. This kind of psychological strain can lead to false confessions, misdirected accusations, or dangerous assumptions made in desperation. At the heart of this mess is a chilling truth without solid evidence. Even weak or unrelated leads start to look like breakthroughs. They create noise, loud, chaotic noise, that can drown out the one signal that might actually solve the case. If someone responsible for the disappearance is watching all this unfold, they may feel sick.
Yeah. Well, we ain't got nothing for that right now. Dadgummit.
And Sabina said if they have checked all wells, pipes, tunnels with no outcome, they need to go toward the water all around that area.
Yeah. Well, even that triangle cutout spot,
Yeah.
I mean, is in walking distance too. I mean, and they did say I got no paperwork in there. Bless, bless. Dig them out, is what that woman said.
Safer than ever, hiding behind the confusion. The next steps are critical. Authorities need to immediately cross-reference all digital data with real-world activity. Release the surveillance footage with verified timestamps. Fully excavate and test the disturbed soil. Use high-resolution photos of the children to confirm or rule out the surveillance IDs. Track unregistered vehicles in the region from April to May. Interview everyone involved under the assumption that some of these leads might finally intersect. And there's one last question that's becoming harder to ignore. Is this confusion accidental, or is someone creating it on purpose? Whether it's a manipulative party involved in the case, or simply the mishandling of high-tech evidence, the result is the same: chaos. And in chaos, the truth becomes harder to see. Until that truth surfaces, this case remains not just unsolved, but dangerously scattered.
Yep.
The disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan teaches us one of the hardest truths about criminal investigations. When there's no balance, everything can fall apart. If you focus too hard on one theory, you risk ignoring the truth staring you in the face.
Right.
But if you chase every possible lead without direction, you end up with chaos. Somewhere between those two extremes lies the truth. But in this case, that middle ground was never found. It's easy to blame law enforcement, but we also need to recognize the pressure they were under from the public, from the clock, from the silence of too few clues. They had to make choices, which leads to follow, which ones to leave behind. Maybe they backed the wrong horse. Maybe they were afraid to chase them all. Whatever the reason, the cost is undeniable. This case is a reminder that early missteps in an investigation can carry serious consequences. That relying too heavily on tech without grounding it in human logic can generate more noise than answers. That being, sure, if something isn't enough, you have to weigh what's possible and what can't be ruled out. And despite everything, we still hold on to one thing: hope. Hope that Lilly and Jack are still out there. Hope that someone, somewhere, saw something that matters. Hope that we haven't missed our only chance. And above all, hope that next time, whether it's for them or for another child, we'll get it right. Because sometimes, all that's left is a prayer whispered into silence and the belief that the truth, no matter how buried, still wants to be found.
That's right. Well, guys, I tell you, what's that comment?
Just this.
Oh, it's not looking good. I'm telling you. For Daniel or Malaya, I think that if they will go back to that disturbed spot of ground and at least see if, like I said, there's nothing like clothing or tools or anything that could have DNA on it or anything like that, that would go ahead and bust the whole thing wide open. And all in truth, they don't even have to wait anymore. Because, like I said, they go ahead and get them for neglect of a child and endangerment of a child, um, to get them in there long enough to interrogate them, and they could use that baby against them. And I mean, that's exactly what I would do. I would use every tactic I could, but I would go ahead and get them to the jailhouse. And if they think they're not going to get to leave, they're going to start singing on one another.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it works. Take a few hours to get them kind of broke in and scared up, but they know how to do it. Ones that's been doing it for years. And again, guys, I'm sorry we're having to do it here in the living room, but I am going to go ahead and call them tomorrow, or well, now today, and see
Yeah,
if
snow school for.
see if I can get them out here and try to fix it. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here, guys. I love each and every one of you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Or today.
Yeah. So it's
After a while.
Today is already today.
Oh,
Ain't making that noise now.